Bumble is back, both as our podcast sponsor and to help you find love. Honestly, dating can feel intimidating, but Bumble is definitely making it easier. Sometimes all you need is a different perspective or a little bit of guidance, which is exactly why Bumble has launched its new coaching hub. This update offers support and tips from experts, and my friends are loving it so far. For the love of love, give Bumble another shot. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Mini Scroll, the daily internet culture podcast bringing you the biggest stories from social media, the creator economy, and the digital space every Monday through Thursday and sometimes Fridays. I'm your host, Lauren Meisner, the founder of the youth digital media brand, Centennial World. Welcome back to Mini Scroll, everyone. Okay, we heard your cries. We swapped out the plant. Oh my God, the story of our plant, it's honestly an extensive one. So if you guys were OG listeners of the podcast, you would know we've always had a plant. For years and years, we've had a plant. She was in a white vase. And when we moved into this office from the studio being in my house, we brought her and she was part of our setup. And then after a few months in this office, there's no sunlight, like there's no windows. So we brought her to a window in our co-working space because our studio office is in a co-working space. We brought her to the windowsill over the weekend because she was starting to wilt. She needed some sunlight, okay? This was months and months ago. And then somebody took her. And there's plants everywhere. We work at the Commons. If you guys have been to the Commons in Sydney, there's always plants like in all of the offices, like tons of plants. And we're in the Chippendale one, which is like plants everywhere. So I do feel like what happened was possibly somebody who works at the Commons moved her because they thought that she was like part of the Commons plant setup. But no, she was our plant and we were just giving her some sunlight and somebody took her. And so then we just took one of the plants from the hallways and that was always our plant. I'm sorry for telling you all about our plant, but like honestly, this has been a journey for me. So that was always our plant. And then as you guys would have noticed in the video, these past few weeks, she started to like seriously die and we were giving her love. I don't know. I do not have a green thumb, okay? So I had to surrender her back to the hallway. I had to bring her back to where she belonged, to the sunlight, to the people who take care of the plants that know what they're doing, and we have this plant now. And she is much more alive. And next week, you guys know this, but at the end of next week, we are moving into our brand new office and it has a big window and I'm so excited. So hopefully this plant will never die now. All right, before I get into the stories for today, please remember to rate, review, and subscribe. Please Spotify star rate us. We're trying to get to 1,000 Spotify star ratings by the end of the year. All right, the first story that I have for you guys is I wanted to cover, I guess, the biggest story that I felt like was relevant to us that came out of Brooke Schofield on the Viall Files. So Brooke appeared on the Viall Files podcast and the episode was released yesterday. In the episode, they discussed an array of topics, but the main point of discussion that seemed to come out was Brooke's comments about the ending of the canceled podcast, as we expected. And I know it feels like we're kind of beating a dead horse with how much I've talked about canceled and it ending, but I thought that this was actually really interesting. It felt like something different than what we'd heard from her before, or from like both of them, like Tana or Brooke, about the ending of the podcast. So Nick basically started talking about how in the final episode of the canceled podcast, Brooke seemed more emotional than Tana about the show coming to an end. He then asked Brooke to expand on why the show ended and how she's feeling about it. In response, Brooke basically said that if it was up to her, the podcast wouldn't have ended, mostly for financial reasons. She would have liked the podcast to have taken a hiatus.
Tana and I both have completely different reasons for wanting to end the podcast, I think. I can't speak for her, but if it were up to me and me alone, it wouldn't have ended. I probably would have just stuck it out just because, I mean, it's so important to my life, especially like financially, like I needed it there. Like for her, it ended because she was, you know, in my opinion, like being dragged into a lot of controversy because of me, obviously. And I was just like not doing well mentally. I was really, really struggling. And I felt like every single week I was putting myself in a position to be perceived at like as a version of myself that I was not proud of and not excited about.
Brooke also said it was very hard for her to deal with all the hate comments. However, a lot of people on Reddit are saying that Brooke explaining the ending of Canceled from Tana's perspective here seems to contrast against Tana's recent posts. Tana has posted recently from the Unwell Network offices. So the going theory is that Tana wanted to end Canceled because she wanted to do her own solo podcast under Unwell. Or possibly not Loveline, which is her podcast with Trisha Paytas. They're hoping that it will get picked up by the Unwell Network. That's what people theorize, because they did also make a joint post, I'm pretty sure. I think I saw this on Reddit a couple days ago where they posted a selfie wearing Unwell merch saying like, Alex, when are we going to join the Unwell Network or something like that. I like hearing Brooke talk about the financial side of the podcast. I know that was a big point of discussion amongst fans is, of course, Tana was going to be okay because she has been so wealthy for so long. But it kind of seemed like, well, does Brooke have a lot aside from canceled financially? But then she bought this house, and obviously she's engaged to someone who presumably has money himself as well. So, I mean, she's obviously going to be fine, but it's interesting to hear how she said, like, from a financial position, like, I didn't want it to end. I needed it there. Okay, the next story that I have for you guys, Bella Hadid has addressed her mood at the Victoria's Secret fashion show. So last week, the Victoria's Secret fashion show aired, and okay, this is a little bit of like behind the scenes for you guys. I did touch on it in the episode. I don't know if it was like Wednesday, Thursday, whenever the fashion show aired. Here in Australia, it aired like during our morning. And so I recorded right after it aired. And I touched on it just very briefly, but I kind of got in my head about my take. So I ended up cutting that whole section out. My take for reference was that the women, like the models, were way too spray tanned. And that take wasn't circulating yet. Nobody was talking about how tanned they all looked. And I started to get in my own head, like almost gaslighting myself, thinking like, are you just like too chronically online? Like, do you just need to touch grass? Like, are you looking for a problem here? So I decided, you know what? I'm just going to cut it out because I don't know if this is like a valid take. But if you've been following the discourse, then you know that was actually not a hot take, and it was actually a valid take. And I really wish I had left it in now because there's been op-eds in mainstream media about how spray tanned they were. This is like a big topic of conversation online about like how spray tanned the girls were and how it just made a lot of us feel a little bit uncomfortable. Anyways, another piece of discourse from the show was that Bella Hadid looked kind of miserable, I guess. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't really notice this because obviously when we're watching fashion shows, models walk down the runway, they often look miserable. I know the Victoria's Secret fashion show is very different. They're always like laughing and having fun and all of that, but I just felt like, okay, Bella Hadid, like she's a baddie. Like that's just her vibe today. But no, a lot of people clocked that she seemed to be very miserable. So this one TikTok went particularly viral where the girl said, Bella Hadid, what the fuck's wrong with you? What we gotta do? Looked like she was gonna cry the whole show. And yesterday, Bella Hadid responded. She wrote, girl, I got my period that morning and my stamina is not up yet after the whole hospital sitch. But I tried my best and I love you for this. I'm okay, I swear. I'm sorry if I let you down. Love you, I mean it. I definitely don't think this girl was trying to insinuate that Bella Hadid had let anybody down. I think it was more just like out of concern. The fact that Bella Hadid looks like that on day one of her period though is so insane. I can't imagine a worse experience than having to walk in like the most televised fashion show probably in the world, or at least, in America, in lingerie and 50 pounds. She said the wings that she was wearing were 50 pounds, okay? 50-pound wings. After her grueling hospital stay, we all saw the pics on Instagram on day one of her period. That's actually insane. And women are superheroes, like for real. Okay, the next story that I have for you guys, this is also a story I had to cut out. So I talked about this a couple days ago in Mini, and I had to cut it out because I was saying her last name wrong. Okay, so TikTok star Jillian Webber is engaged. I know who Jillian Webber is, obviously. I know her brother, Jake Webber. Like, I know this whole vibe, okay? But for some reason, every single time I said their last name when I was reporting on this story, I was calling them Webb, and I didn't even realize it until I was editing. And I was like, this is so embarrassing and cringe. Like, I can't publish this. Everyone's gonna be like, are you okay? So Jillian Webber is engaged. So Jillian Webber has announced that she's engaged to her longtime boyfriend, Ethan. Jillian is a 24-year-old rising TikTok star. She's famous for her fun dancing and lifestyle content, and she went super viral when people found out that she was a teacher, but also posting dancing videos. Some people felt it was inappropriate, while others really defended her and were like, she's having fun, let her live. But in general, fans of Jillian have described her as the Charli D'Amelio of this next generation. Jillian is also the younger sister of creator Jake Webber, but they both got famous online separately. Jake was a Viner, and he famously dated Tara Yummy for a long time. But yeah, Jillian got famous in her own right. So people are really excited for this engagement. You'll see Jillian Webber engaged is trending on TikTok right now, and fans are making tons of edits of their proposal. Okay, and the last story that I have for you guys is that Justin Bieber is on Twitch now. This is a story that Annabelle was advocating for because Justin Bieber, Ariana Grande, Beyonce, I feel like that is the trifecta of who she stands, but she loves Justin Bieber. She prepped this story for me, and she literally made the headline, JB on Twitch, heart my king. So Justin Bieber has recently made a Twitch channel, and he was streaming for the first time earlier today. So before his stream, he posted on socials that he was live on Twitch before sharing a link to his channel. And throughout the live stream, he played basketball, he was skateboarding, and he also took viewers on a tour of his warehouse. While speaking to the camera, he shared that he would be live streaming almost every day. Imagine Justin Bieber started live streaming on Twitch every single day. Imagine that's how he pivoted his career. I think that was probably just a figure of speech, just something he was saying, but I would be interested to see if he keeps this up. So Justin Bieber becoming a Twitch streamer in 2025, I don't think was on anyone's bingo card, but there are a couple of things that we can take away from this. First and most obvious is that we are definitely seeing live streaming go mainstream in a way that we haven't before. This isn't a surprise, given that the biggest influencers amongst Gen Alpha are quite literally streamers, but also more and more brands are jumping on the platform. As we know, Annabelle reported on this yesterday. Another thing is that Justin Bieber has always been relatively on the pulse when it comes to socials. People forget that he was literally plucked from obscurity on YouTube. And throughout his career, he's always been quite chronically online. Like, he was super active on Twitter for a long time. And then now you'll see him posting like 1,000 times a day on Instagram. Given how casual he seems to treat socials these days, doing streams like this doesn't feel like entirely out of place. But also, jumping on Twitch is obviously part of his broader comeback this year, after surprise dropping Swag and then Swag 2, and also being announced as the Coachella headliner for 2026. He even talked about Coachella on his stream. He said, "I'm putting on a hell of a show for you guys for Coachella, getting ready and getting inspired." Now, something that I didn't formally insert into this story, but I think is something that I would like to look into a little bit more, is people have noted that I guess his highest number when he was streaming was 10,000, like 10,000 viewers. And there's a lot of discourse right now about how Twitch is just filled with bots. Like, people are not actually getting, let's say, 30,000 views a stream. They're getting 5,000 and the rest are bots, okay? That's kind of ambiguous numbers, but you understand what I mean. There's a lot of discussion about how people believe that Twitch is just like full of bots. And people are saying, like, some of the biggest Twitch streamers in the world, their numbers are ginormous. And the fact that Justin Bieber, okay, like, he is literally the biggest celebrity in the world in many cases. Like, he's one of the biggest celebrities in the world. On his first ever Twitch stream, he only had 10,000 viewers. So people are convinced that some of these really big Twitch streamers that get giant numbers are just flooded with view bots. I believe the theory is that the streamers themselves are aware of these bots and they are encouraging them, buying them. I'm not really sure how bots work on Twitch, but I'm going to assume you can buy bot views. Anyways, guys, that's it for Mini Scroll today. Thank you so much for listening. I love you guys. Please remember to rate, review, and subscribe. There will be a deep dive tomorrow and also an episode of High Stakes. All right, bye.